America, it's time for your news by the numbers. There's no talking points. There's no talking heads. There's no smoking guns tonight, lovelies. It's you and I and Rich and the numbers. And tonight's number, America, wait for it, 50. That is tonight's number. And it goes a little something like this. So Gallup has a daily tracking poll, and what they found, well, really the number is sort of 55, but Trump's disapproval rating is at 55. It's already as high as Obama's ever was his first term in office. So we're only like 33 days in, and already 55% of Americans, as per the Gallup poll, say ixnay on Mr. President A.
Yeah, I mean, I think historically, like, the best time to be a president is right when you enter office.
Yes.
Usually people are pretty optimistic about whatever you have to offer. I mean, Obama's were, like, amazing, especially his first term. But even his second term, they weren't that bad. But Donald Trump's are as bad as, like, basically the last 80 years.
And then putting it into context, right? So what one group, Gallup, does, they talk about how many days it took for a president to get to a negative approval, which is a positive disapproval. So let's just break it down. So Ronald Reagan, it took him 727 days to get a negative approval rating. George Bush, 1,336 days. Bill Clinton, 573 days. George W. Bush, 1,205 days. Barack Obama, 936 days. And Donald J. Trump, 8 days.
8 days. Well done, sir. Only 8 days in office, which was basically like... So 8 days in office. We remember at the beginning of Donald Trump's presidency, he actually didn't work for the first couple of days because he wanted to take the weekend off. So it was really only one business week before he got the.
And I mean, here's the thing in that business. So and we're going to talk. We talked about this already in the pre-show, but this past Thursday, during his press conference, he sort of outlined all the things that he was going to get done. And whether you like it or not, what I will give the Donald in this particular exchange is that I think he's right. So at the beginning of the press conference, he's like, I'm only doing what I promised I would do. And I think, listen, a broke clock is right twice a day. And Donald Trump is correct. He's doing everything he said he was going to do. He said he was going to ban Muslims, did that. He said he was going to do mass deportations, doing that. He said he was going to roll back environmental regulations, did that, right? He said he was going to build a wall.
Trying to do that.
He's going to try to do that, right? He said he was going to appoint a conservative justice on the court.
Yeah.
Did that. So everything he's doing, that's what's so perplexing to me. So he wins the presidency by 46% of the vote, right? So 46% of Americans say we support Donald Trump. He did win overwhelmingly in the Electoral College. Mm-hmm. But now, all of a sudden, he has a negative 55% approval rating. So in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, what the hell happened?
How is that possible, right?
How is that possible? Now, with that being said, just another number to throw out there, and I want to get Rich's opinion on this, is now his approval rating amongst Republicans, right, which is what I think really matters, especially in the partisan society that we're in, is 90. He has a 90% approval rating amongst Republicans. So
pretty high.
That is very high. And it was President Obama had the same thing. Now, the question is will this behavior that we've seen over the past 30 some odd days start to slowly erode Republican support for Donald Trump? Because the more Republican support erodes, the more freedom members of the House and members of the Senate and Republican governors have to sort of dance.
Set up for the next big play.
Right, because right now they can't dance. I think the sense I get from what we've seen this week is that there are some Republicans that want to dance. Like I think Marco Rubio is signaling I want to play. We know John McCain and Lindsey Graham, they're playing. They're in the dance. I think you have Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins from Maine and Alaska, respectively. They're dancing. But I think the Rob Portmans of the world want to dance. I think the Marco Rubio. I think anybody who's running for president who wants to run for president, so the Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, that whole little group, they want to dance. And so we'll see if this behavior will negatively impact his approval rating with Republicans, because that is where you're going to see either two things happen. The White House is going to shift their behavior, or Republicans are going to shift their behavior towards the White House.
No, you're totally right. And to go back to your point that you made earlier, so in the press conference, he says, listen, all the stuff that I'm doing is exactly what I said I was going to do. And that is a fair point, and I've got two responses to that. First of all, this kind of plays into the approval and disapproval numbers that we were talking about earlier. I really do think a lot of people, and myself included, like, listen, if you go back on the YouTube channel 3 or 4 months, I probably said there's no way Donald Trump's going to do all that stuff. And he's just playing to his base, and he's not going to do it.
He's actually doing it.
I was wrong, okay? Like 100%. I think a lot of people felt like this was just the exaggeration and puffery, and it wasn't actually going to go through with it. Turns out he did. He issued a staggering amount of executive orders. But what the real meat of this story is despite the fact that Donald Trump has issued these executive orders and he's talked tough and he went up there and he signed 1 million pieces of paper with his weird signature, the fact of the matter is these executive orders don't actually do much. When you get into the meat about
them. I don't know about that. I mean, I don't know about that. I think this Muslim ban did a lot. It pretty much crippled America's airports.
Not really, because it was immediately shut down in a district court level.
Right, but I'm saying if the Muslim ban was allowed to exist in its current form.
Right, but the fact of the matter is with these executive orders, you end up in a situation where he goes too crazy, and it's not even doing something that gets immediately shut down in the court is effectively doing nothing.
Touche. And then I also think this, I mean, I will say this about, in defense of Donald Trump, and I will rarely ever defend Donald, but in this case, like, I do believe that there is a little bit of heightened awareness of these deportations, but I don't think these deportations are anything new.
Right. I think Obama actually deported more people than Bush, if I'm not mistaken.
No, Obama's deported more people than any other president in American history, right? So, but I think, I will say this, I think that Donald Trump is being unfairly, don't get me wrong, I think his executive order is disgusting, and his executive order has added to the deportations a little bit. But I think now ICE, first, I don't think the media was paying attention to ICE. Now they're paying attention to ICE because Donald Trump is president.
That's what they do all day, every day.
Every day, exactly. They terrorize people.
Yeah, that's their job.
But I think that Donald Trump has now given them a little bit more levity to engage in this behavior, and I think the media, because he ran on this, is now is hyper focused on sort of bringing it out. So it becomes this thing, and I think that's part of Donald Trump's problem, is that he keeps criticizing the media. Whether fairly or unfairly, thing about the media is the media controls the narrative.
Right.
They control the volley, right? It's like a game, it's almost like a game of tennis, but the media controls the height of the net. Right? So the net can go up, the net can go down. And so you've got to be very careful about what game you play, because eventually the Trump administration is doing enough things that if the media can slowly tease it out, and Donald Trump's not doing a good enough job from a communications perspective of handling it. We'll get on Democrats later, because I think the Democrats, our plan, right? Progressives, I think, are handling it badly. Democrats are handling it badly, because we don't have a plan. Like, we're just like, no. And that's the same thing the Republicans did, and they won, they got some seats back in the midterms. They lost the general. Again, they lost the general election. They lost the presidential election. So I'm just putting it out there.